The old painter's secret. In a quaint little village, nestled among rolling hills and babbling brooks, lived an old painter named Arthur. His cottage, covered in ivy and smelling of turpentine and old wood, was a sanctuary of art. Arthur was renowned, not for fame or fortune, but for the life that seemed to breathe from his canvases. His paintings weren't just images. They were emotions, memories, and dreams captured in oil and pigment. Villagers would often stop by, mesmerized by his work. Arthur, a young baker, once asked, "What's your secret? How do you make the sunlight on your canvases feel so warm, the water so real?" Arthur would just smile, a twinkle in his wise old eyes, and say, "The secret is in the seeing, my dear boy, not just the painting." Nobody quite understood what he meant, but they cherished his enigmatic wisdom as much as his art. One day, a young, ambitious artist named Leo arrived in the village. He had studied at the finest academies, mastered every technique, and won several awards. Yet, he felt something was missing in his work. His paintings were technically perfect, but lacked the soul he saw in Arthur's pieces. Determined to uncover the old master's secret, Leo approached Arthur and asked to be his apprentice. Arthur agreed, but his lessons were unconventional. He didn't teach Leo about brush strokes or color theory. Instead, he took him on long walks. "Look, Leo," Arthur would say, pointing to a field of wildflowers. "Don't just see yellow and purple. See how they dance in the wind. See the courage of the tiny one pushing through the rocks." He'd have Leo sit by the river for hours, not to sketch it, but to listen to its stories. "Can you hear the journey it has been on, from the mountains to the sea?" he'd ask. Leo grew impatient. "When will you teach me to paint like you?" he demanded one afternoon. Arthur led him to a simple, unfinished painting of a single, withered apple on a windowsill. "Paint this," Arthur said simply. Leo, annoyed, quickly rendered a technically flawless copy. It was perfect in every detail, yet it was just a picture of an apple. Arthur then picked up his own brush. He didn't paint immediately. He closed his eyes, gently touching the apple's wrinkled skin. He seemed to be listening to it. When he finally began to paint, his movements were slow, deliberate, and full of feeling. The apple he painted was more than just a fruit. You could see the sun that had ripened it, the branch it had clung to, the passage of time etched into its skin. It told a story of a life lived. Leo stared, speechless. He finally understood. The secret wasn't a technique. It wasn't a special brand of paint or a rare kind of brush. The secret was connection. It was empathy. It was about seeing the world not just with your eyes, but with your heart. To paint a flower, you had to feel its thirst for the sun. To paint a mountain, you had to understand its ancient, silent strength. From that day on, Leo's approach to art transformed. He spent less time in the studio and more time in the world. He learned to listen to the whisper of the leaves, to feel the joy of a sunrise, and to understand the quiet dignity of an old stone wall. His paintings began to change. They were no longer just technically perfect illustrations. They were alive. They had a soul. Years passed. Arthur eventually laid down his brushes for the last time, leaving behind a legacy not of technique, but of a profound way of seeing the world. Leo became the village's new beloved artist, his work resonating with the same life and emotion as his master's. And whenever a young, aspiring artist would ask him for his secret, Leo would smile, a familiar twinkle in his eye, and say, "The secret is in the seeing, not just the painting. You must learn to paint with your heart." The story of the old painter reminds us that in any craft, whether it's painting, writing, cooking, or simply living, the most important ingredient is love. It's the passion, the empathy, the deep connection we forge with our subject and our world. True mastery isn't just about skill. It's about pouring a piece of your soul into everything you do. It is about seeing the story in everything and having the courage to tell it with your whole heart. Thank you so much for joining me for this story today. I hope it brought a little warmth and inspiration to your day. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more stories like this one. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, take care and see the world with your heart.